Hey, this is Shannon with Only Fun Helis. We are at Spring Fling on Thursday, and what time is it? About 1:45, something like that. And we are here with the man himself, the legend, Mr. Bert Kammerer. Appreciate you stopping by and talking to us.
Thank you.
And speaking of legends, let's tie this off. You're on Legends teams for X-Nova.
That's what they say, yeah.
And what does that mean? You and Tariq.
Me and Tarek Al-Sadi and now Kyle Station.
Ah, I didn't know that.
He made the cut, yeah. I don't know, it's just some funny thing that the owner of X-Nova decided. He's always, in the beginning, they had a hard time finding pilots, right? Because obviously Scorpion had a lot of the pilots back in the day, and X-Nova was kind of the new kid on the block. So Tarek signed up with them, and he was flying for them, and then they were trying to get me on board. They sent me some samples, and I was never really committed to 100% to the brand. I was flying Scorpion a little bit, X-Nova a little bit. I would just venture and do different things with motors. And one day he just kept saying, "We need to do this. This is awesome. You're old school pilot. You know, you're like in your 40s. You know, you're like Tarek, old guy. Like, you know, you guys are like, you're like a legend. It's not necessarily about your skills. It's more about who you are, and like it's kind of cool." And he just kept saying that. And one day, I got this little top motor plate in the mail, in the UPS, whatever it was, and it said Legends Team. It's a serial number 0001. So I called Joaquin, and I'm like, "It's fine, man. Let's just put me on the team. It's done. It's good."
Cool.
And then obviously Kyle joined a lot later. I think a year later. Kyle just joined recently.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware of that.
I think last fall, something like that. And then obviously
Cool.
he got the Legends Team deal. So.
Well, as most of you know, if you're in the helicopter hobby, you're aware of who Bert is and the impact that he's on the hobby. How long did you and Bobby do Smack Talk? That was, what, 3 or 4 years or something?
No, probably the span of 4 years. We started Smack Talk in 2009. I don't even remember exactly how this whole thing started. It was an idea that we both had about doing video content. And Bobby was going to college, so he needed a little bit of extra money. He was always broke, a typical college kid, right?
Yeah.
And I was doing okay financially. It wasn't a big deal, but he was trying to find ways to make money. And I said, "Listen, you can do some in the hobby." And somehow, I don't know how it became that we did a couple videos and people liked them. And then he said, "We need to charge for these." And, the hobby's not accustomed to, the hobby world is not accustomed to paying for content, right? They're expecting us to do everything for free, which is understandable. I mean, I had a lot of free help back in the day. I'm sure you did too,
sure.
And everybody else. But this was like quite the work, right? 1 hour of edited, 45 minutes to an hour, sometimes an hour and a half of edited content, and it wasn't very professional, well edited content, but it took time. You know how it goes, like
behind the scenes work.
Yeah, finding the location, thinking about the idea, the scripting. Write our outlines and figure everything out, and the lighting, and we had a lot of challenges with equipment and audio and the camera to use, and this is 10 years ago, where technology when it comes to video was not even what it is today. 1080p was like a huge thing.
Yeah.
Now we're dealing with 4K and super state-of-the-art. I mean, hell, now an iPhone or an Android phone can do incredible footage if you know how to use it properly. Back then, we were using these crappy cameras, so we eventually decided we're going to charge, a very small fee just to cover the expenses and help Bobby a little bit with his schooling and stuff like that, and, a little bit of extra income for me. And it just took off, and we did super well. I forgot how many episodes, I think over 40 to 50 total episodes, and it was pretty successful.
I have every single one of those downloaded in a folder that's still on my computer that every once in a while we'll look at them.
And sadly, first of all, we literally run out of ideas, because we didn't want to make videos that focused on one tip or one little detail. We wanted to pick on a topic and expand on it. And sure, we could have expanded further on that topic, but it just got to a point where, okay, we've talked about blades, we've talked about ESCs, we've talked about motors.
You've even updated like ESCs, I know you did twice, because there was updates. There was completely different governor situations changed, and new ones came out, and even then, you'd hit a couple of topics 2 times, and then you get to a point in what do we do next. So that's fully understandable.
And I did an episode, for example, about the V-bar years and years ago, and then Kyle, and then it came to this point in time where Bobby got busy, I got busy. We kind of just literally let it go because we were struggling to get ideas, and we're really getting busy with life. And then recently, I'm saying a couple of years ago, Kyle took over my position with Bobby because Bobby had some ideas to start over, and they did a handful of episodes, no more. And they revisited Mikado V-Bars because it had changed so much. And but yeah, we had a great run, and for the people that are unaware, it's all free now. So it came to that point in time where it was sales were dead, which is expected. You know, 9 years. I think aside from the new episodes that Bobby and Kyle did themselves, our original content was, I don't know, 4 years old probably at least. So it was kind of outdated.
But I tell you what, for those of you that have not looked at it, the 3D series is every bit as applicable today as it was back then.
Thank you.
And you go through the 3D series, and I don't remember, it's been a while since I looked at it, but you go through the process of how to train for loops and circuits and pirouetting flips, and there's just all kinds of different things, and you take it step by step from one level to another.
It starts off with all the basics, how to learn backwards and inverted backwards and all these things, and it progresses into like more advanced maneuvers, and it never gets super technical, but it gives people the right foundation to become that next level pilot.
So if you haven't seen that, look that up.
And it's free.
Yes.
YouTube, find Smack Talk RC channel.
And that would be a great resource for you guys.
Cool stuff.
You've been flying competitively, and
I was.
Yes, a while back. You did very well. But you started competitively how many years ago?
First competition was in 2005, 2006 XFC. Yeah.
And you did individual stuff, and then you and Bobby did some things together with like a team concept?
Yeah, I did individual, and Bobby and I did synchro. They used to call it I think they call it a synchro or a team competition at XFC. And then in Europe, 3D Masters, which later become Heli Masters, and now it's called Global 3D, they had a synchro competition. And so Bobby and I entered that for many years in a row, I think starting in, I don't remember, maybe 07 all the way to like 2000, even probably 10 or 11, something like that. So 4 or 5 years, no more than that.
You constantly, when we're on the line, you go up to fly and you talk about, I'm the old man now, and I don't see as well, and I'm not as fast and all that. And us mere mortals watch his flights and still stand there with our mouths open. And I know that there's a change. I see it in myself. I don't fly anywhere near what you do, but I mean, I know there's a change. But what are you actually seeing? For those of us that are getting on up, what differences do you see in your eyesight or reaction time or whatever that's affecting your flying right now?
Here's the funny thing about this, and I try to explain this to a lot of people have asked me this question recently, because I did a podcast with Kyle, and we were talking about old man 3D and all this, and Kyle, to Kyle, I'm an old man. Yes. I'm almost 50. Kyle's 23. I could be his father.
Yes.
But to guys that are in their 50s and 60s, they make fun of me because they're like, "You're a kid." But in 3D flying standards, anybody over 25 to 30 is an old man, right? But the funny thing that I've been noticing is it started to happen after age 45. There's two aspects. There's one that I can tell you what it is, okay? So it's the visual. My eyesight is not quite as well. It's corrected, and it's always been corrected fine, but there's something about depth perception that is not quite there, right? That's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is I cannot explain what it is. So there's that noticeable aspect where I can feel I'm a little slower. I feel that my depth perception, my eyesight is not quite the same. But then there's that other aspect of it that I cannot explain to you. It's a feel thing. Yeah. It is, I am not feeling as connected to the machine as I did before this started to happen, right? And like when I see Kyle fly this far off the ground, I can remember, and I can bring up videos on YouTube of me doing the same thing in slower motion because the equipment was, we didn't have the same power, we were flybar, it was different. But I can pull up videos from like, I don't know, 08, 09, 07, that's not that long, that's 10 years ago. I was in my 30s, mid to late 30s. And I remember, being so connected that I could just go this far off the ground. And it wasn't a big deal. Now, I keep the heli higher because it just does, there's something I cannot explain. It's a connection thing. I still feel in control. I still feel safe, like I'm not worried or anything. But there's not that like one-on-one, like absolute in control, like almost like one with the helicopter anymore. And it's just, I can't explain it. And I don't know if it's me or if it's everybody. I hate to say this. This sounds a little cocky, and I don't mean it to sound cocky, but there aren't a lot of people my age that have done what I did in helicopters to have a baseline and talk to my buddies and say, how do you feel? The only one is Bodos. He's my age. He's been in helis long enough, longer than I have. I never had this. We've discussed it, but we never went in depth and be like, how, you know what I mean? Like,
well, I think there's other people that are in other sports that are similar in dealing with reaction time. I know some things that I've been involved in that, other than helicopters, I can perceive that same thing in other sports-related things, where I can feel that, and I think it's just age. I mean, as we go, that reaction time grows and grows and grows, and like you say, depth perception and all.
But it has to be. I agree. But hey, it's still fun, and you know, sometimes I try too hard, right? Because back in the day, I could fly and push really hard, and it felt good, natural. Sometimes now I feel like I'm pushing too hard, and I just need to just slow down and just do my thing. Who cares, right? Like, it's almost like you have this. When I go out there, I feel like, I gotta perform just because, you know, I've just been putting on a show for myself and for everybody, and like I've been enjoying this crazy, you know, type of flying. I have to change my mentality. It's hard to do, but I've been thinking about this. I need to change this mentality and break away from this habit and just fly. Just have fun. Slow it down, just slow head speed, or, you know, do a little bit of everything, right? It just...
You know, the point that you bring that up, we've talked with several other people and brought this up relative to people that have never been to fun flies, or that come to fun flies and they're scared to fly in front of other people. You know, they don't feel like they're at the level they can fly in front of others. You know, basically what you're saying is the same thing. Now, you're at a whole different level, but you need to just fly and be you, is what you're saying. They need to just fly and be them.
Absolutely. And when I started going to events way back 15 plus years ago, I had no issue flying. My flying wasn't great at all, but I had no issue because nobody really cared or knew who I was. And I made a lot of friends, and I learned a lot from other people. But as I started getting better and better slowly, then people started to look up to my flying and like wanted to see me fly. And it got to this point where when I walk to the flight line and I see 2, 3, 5 people, 10 people walk behind me to kind of see me fly, I almost feel like, I hate it. It really, pardon my French, it pisses me off because it puts me on the spot, and I don't want to be on the spot. I just want to have fun. It's way different than back in the day, or like even a Kyle Stacy. He says he doesn't like it. He's lying. He loves it. He loves the attention. I know the kid since he was 8. But he's a natural at it, and he flies a lot, and he's good at it naturally. So he enjoys when people go out there to watch him, and it's not a big deal. But when I see people watching me, he's like, you know, I have to perform when I really don't need to, right? But it's just being a human. It's just being human, right?
Well, you know, what would you say to the folks? Part of the reason for doing this is to try to share about fun flies and what fun flies are about, and encourage people to be able to go. To those folks that are newbies, that there may be folks watching this that have never been to a fun fly, know who Bert Kammerer is, never had the chance to say hi and shake your hand or whatever. You know, you got that new guy coming out. He knows how to hover well. He can do forward circuits. He's scared to death to fly at a fun fly. What would you tell him?
Oh, what can I say? It's easier said than done, but just bring your helicopter. Go to an event and bring the helicopter, and just walk around and meet other people and shake some hands. And I assure you that within a matter of a few minutes, you're going to feel comfortable enough to bring your heli out and go and fly.
Yep.
You have got to give it a shot. You will not know what it feels like until you experience it. When you're new, it's almost better to be a newbie than to be in the hobby for so many years, because everybody is so... Not to say that we don't get along. We're all friends, and we have a ball, and we enjoy ourselves coming to events, but there's always these little things going on, right? You know what I'm talking about. Yep. But when you're new, you're innocent. There's none of that takes place. There's no drama. There's no politics. There's no competitors. There's no teams. You just go out there, and everybody welcomes you. No matter what team they're from, no matter if they're, you know, what level of education they have, no matter if they're black, white, this, that. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. Everybody's just close, and everybody gets along. Everybody loves each other. And the amount of help you can you will get from people that you would have never even expected is mind-blowing. So you have got to try it. You have to go to an event.
I was thinking of a statement when you said that Michael Jordan made, and this I'm thinking about related to crashes. I've had people talk about, well, I'm scared to crash or whatever. You've been flying for a while. How many times, I know you can't grab an hour, how many times have you crashed in your lifetime?
500, I don't know. Yeah.
A bunch.
Yeah, I lost count. I lost count years ago.
Everybody does it. It's going to happen. And that's just part of the hobby, and it's okay. And that's what part of these parts are for.
And so people argue that, well, it's easier said than done because, like, you know, it's not cheap and this and that. Well, I strongly believe in risk management. So you go out there and you don't push yourself so many times until you start to feel it, and then you push yourself, and you might get away with it. And probably 2 out of 3 times you will get away with it because you don't have to push yourself and go outside of your comfort zone to improve. If you don't do that, you will never improve.
Yeah.
Gator will hate me when I say this, but my close friend Gator never pushes himself, so he never crashes. Now, when he does crash, it's freaking spectacular. But you control you control your risk, right? You risk management.
And part of that is simulator time and working on things and getting that down, and then you try it in real life, 2 mistakes high or whatever. That, you know, there's a lot of ways to do that.
And I hate to say it, but there's a whole lot more than just going out there and twisting sticks and thinking, oh, I want to try to fly inverted. You almost, if you want to get good at this or even get to a certain level, you have got to almost come up with a plan.
Yes.
What is the logical step? What's the logical next step for me? I'm hovering till I nose in. What is the logical next step? And you have to kind of think about it. And as you try that maneuver in the simulator, always first.
I go back to your 3D series and your step-by-step that y'all
work
did
your
there.
basics
It's
forward.
Exactly the same
way.
way.
And then you try in the simulator, and then when you try it in the simulator, before you try it in real life, you come up with a bailout plan for when you know you're going to get in trouble. You know what to do. My bailout plan is back, whatever it is. You have that bailout plan to get you out of trouble. And if you follow these simple steps, 9 out of 10 times you will not crash. It's crazy. And if something happens, like you said, yes, there's plenty of parts. But if you take care of, in my first year of flying, Shannon, I crashed much less. In my very first year of flying, I think this was 2003, I was going to fly every day. Every day. I might be missing 3 days a week, but four days a week I was flying. I was burning a gallon of fuel each one of those days for 1 year. I had one crash. So it was very controlled. I was practicing simulator. I was an addict, obviously. I had my own business at the time. I was doing well, so I could leave the office in the afternoon and go fly. And then in the evenings for half an hour, it wasn't even long, half an hour I would do simulator before bed. Go to bed, get up in the morning, go to work, and then leave work at 4 or 5 and go fly again. And in 1 year, I had one crash.
That's cool.
And it was because I tried an inverted auto rotation the wrong way. I didn't plan it ahead. I didn't think about it. I never done it. And I just, spur of the moment, I just went invert it and hit hold, and it didn't happen. But if you plan what you're doing, you can minimize your risk and your crashes. And of course, things fail and things happen. But I think if you do it, if you take care of, if you follow these basic steps and you take care of, you plan what you're doing and you're careful and you do simulator, you can, like I said, you can go through maybe 1 or 2 crashes a year, which is not bad.
Well, I know Caleb. Caleb's unusual. Caleb never crashes.
Yeah.
Now, the crashes that he has had have been mechanical issues mainly, or there's been 1 or 2 lately of his dad pushing him, like in Birmingham in the ditch, and the whole Synergy team was back behind him trying to egg him on, and I told him, yeah, it's okay. I mean, I don't want you to crash, but if you do, it's okay. And yeah, he put it in the ditch, and it was cool, and it was okay.
The ditch has done it to a lot of us.
As far as normal stuff, he's very careful in what he does, and I think, maybe not consciously, but he's following a lot of what you're talking about, that he thinks about it ahead of time, and he's not going to try something that he's not very confident that he's okay with, either being sim or when he does, it's up high and plays. Like he was working on reversals yesterday, and he said, let me take it up a little bit. And so he was, and he was still a lot lower than I would have played with it, but he was in his comfort zone to go up, doing reversals of a new technique, and then he got it good, and then he brought it down. So just common sense stuff like that.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, like when I was practicing and being serious about it and learning new stuff, I hardly ever crashed. I might have had a handful. My crashes most of the time happen either because of failures of some sort, electronic, mechanical, whatever, something failed. Not so much in the later days, because things are actually a lot more reliable today than they were 10 years ago. But some of it was that. The other thing was just trying to put on a show like Helis was doing, right? Go to an event and like you start pushing real hard, and you're drilling kicks, and you want to get lower and lower, and all of a sudden, boom, you hit the tail on the ground, you know, and those crashes are not that bad, Shannon.
That's correct.
Yeah, those crashes, people think, oh, it's just, no, those crashes are not that bad.
That's correct.
The bad crashes are when you come down from above, not expecting it, and you forget to hit throttle hold or something.
Mr. Stacy coming down at HOD.
Unexpected, yeah. Coming from like a
200 feet.
Yeah, like MacDougall style or whatever we call it, nosedive. But when you hit the ground, you're a little bit too low. If you're quick on the throttle hold, not a lot breaks.
Correct.
And people would not believe that, but it's true. It's true.
Let me change gears on you. You are the distributor for multiple brands here in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
SAB, Switchblade, BK, X-Nova. What am I missing?
You got it, Spartan. Although Spartan as a brand is slowly fading away, unfortunately, but still around.
You know, that's a world that's a different, foreign to most of us, even in me as a dealer, and certainly as the average person out there. What's your life like in the hobby as a distributor versus just somebody that goes out and flies? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Where do I start?
What's an everyday life, your everyday routine like?
Wake up at about 6:30 in the morning, have a cup of coffee sitting on the couch with my wife. Within a matter of, then this is because we force ourselves to have that one-on-one time in the morning.
Sure.
Within a matter of 15 minutes, laptop comes out and start checking emails, and I do that typically solid until 8:30 or so when I go to the shop. I arrive at the shop a little later than Kyle. Kyle gets there earlier, and it's just an entire day of dealing with problems, putting out fires all day. It's a lot of planning when it comes to what to bring in and what not to bring in. It's a lot of babysitting. You know, when it comes to our team and the people we manage as part of the team and dealer network, the dealers, because we not only sell to dealers like you guys, but we also, because BK Servo and Switch are our own brands, we sell to dealers outside the United States.
Right.
So we're dealing with U.S. based for X-Nova and SAB and Spartan, but out of the U.S. for BK and Switch. So it's quite a handful, and it's difficult because we're also retailers like you, right? We're kind of competitors at the same time. So it's really difficult because we try to walk this fine line where we need to make sure our dealers are staffed, but we also need to have a little bit of stock for ourselves, right? So I meant to say our dealers are stocked. Right. So you have to have stock, but we also would like to have some stock for our own retail. And when it comes down to like which one gets the stock, unfortunately for us, you will get the stock. And I'm really serious about that. I've always been that way because our main line of business is distribution, not retail.
Well, I think I've seen that as a dealer. I think I've seen that several times, and I would agree with that.
There's very, very rare exceptions that we do have to do where a dealer will go on to our website and purchase a bunch of stuff and leave us out of stock. And there's some very rare exceptions where we will have to pull one part from that dealer order or whatever because we know one of our team guys needs. We have a challenge, which is which one gets the preference? BK Hobbies, which is our retail shop, or only Find Helis, or any of the other hobby shops. AMA Hobbies, there are too many to name, right?
Team.
Or our team. And it's so difficult. And the only way to make that work right is if we had two completely separate inventory entities. But that also creates a problem. We've been through that road with not worth discussing that. But it's a big challenge because the hobby is such a small market and it's so hard. There's the margins, as opposed to what people might not believe this, but the margins are so small. Especially when you're a distributor, your margins are even smaller than your retailer's margins. Right. So when you sell a Goblin kit, you might not believe it, but you make probably a little bit more than we do. Not by a long shot, but a little bit more. When you sell a part, you make a lot more than we do.
Well, we think about it this way, and let me put it in my end, and your end is worse. And guys, I hope to do a video of this, illustrating this with some physical things to make it easier to understand.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
You know, one of the things that we get, you order from us online, and you order a Goblin kit, the new Kraken that just came out. We'll talk about that in just a minute. You order the new Kraken. Okay, well, I have free shipping for something over $100. So a person, that kit's, 13 pounds or something?
17 in a box, yeah.
Okay, so it's 17 pounds, and it's a decent sized box, and I get an order from California, and I have free shipping to ship that to California.
Now you're spending $40-some.
Now,
at minimum.
they ordered a card, so there's 3%. Okay, I have points on my website for 3%, so now we're at 6%.
Or they pay PayPal is also 3% or more. Yeah.
So, and then I have the shipping supplies, and that we can.
And then that is a Kraken, okay, Shannon. But what about when they get a 10% discount coupon? Because on occasion, I'm sure you hand out, special circumstances, is that some holiday, whatever, they get a 10% discount.
Correct.
And then, like you said, the shipping you have to do for free, and then the credit card fee or the PayPal fee, the shipping supplies.
Well, see, part of what we didn't talk about is, now Bert's been gracious, and we're here at Spring Fling, and he just brought my Krakens with him. But in most cases, I pay the shipping coming to me, so it's not only the shipping going over there.
We do give you free shipping, though, but not all dealers do.
Yeah, correct.
If it's an order of that size, you would have gotten free shipping, but not all dealers do, and not in all circumstances. So you're right. Sometimes
so
you have to
transfer that situation to his.
Yeah.
Now, as far as margin goes, I make that much more than what Bert does on most things, with him as a distributor.
Correct.
So what he has to do, and jump in here and tell me I'm wrong, I mean, he has to do a lot more volume in order...
Or we have to do retail.
Correct. In order to make that up.
It sucks, but it's a true reality. I hate to be so open about this. I've never discussed this in the open like this, but it's the truth.
Yes, and this is our thing. Would Shannon that's only Fine Helis prefer not to have as a competitor BK Hobbies or Mikado USA?
Of course, of course.
Certainly. But and we had a conversation about this before, when I think really before you brought BK Hobbies online. You were a distributor, and we talked about this.
It was here, this event.
You said, you talked about it, says, I think I'm going to have to go retail. And what I told Bert was, I would rather him have a retail operation and still be able to stay in business and support the hobby and be able to be that distributor to provide support to me than not do the retail side and have problems and have to go away.
And then give it up to the clone world or something like that.
Correct.
Because as we lose support for brands in the United States, we're left with no choice but to go directly to Asia. And when it becomes a free-for-all with no regulation, no distribution, no formal team, there's so many things that happen behind the scenes that people don't think about, right?
Let's raise one real quick, and I know this hit and we won't go over it too much, but there's a certain thing called a tariff.
There's a tariff, but not only that, like think about everything that the people don't think about, right? So they buy a servo, for example, from you. Well, if they have a problem, you can go through us, they can go to you, you can come to us, we'll take care of you, you take care of them, or they can go directly. Right. We have a support website that's completely separate from our retail store, and it's just for support. You can go to us, we take care of them. So there's a support aspect of the brand where there's a formal warranty, there's all that going on. There's a team behind it, so there's people out there to help, because sometimes the servo is a simple thing, but sometimes the V-bar, I'm sure, you have Ron from Mikado, you have all these people, team guys that are willing to help, that explain how to set things up. There's all this whole network of things happening. Like you said, we take care of bringing the products, so we deal with all the issues with importing into the U.S., tariffs, customs, yada, yada. There's so many things, right? We deal with the manufacturer when we're not the manufacturer. So like SAB, for example, there's an issue. We deal with the manufacturers. You don't have to deal with them. It's